fresh out the box.
Fresh California plums.
Welcome to another episode of Fresh Film Fridays, the podcast where two dudes pick the newest films streaming or in theaters and discuss them. Today we're talking about 2022's All Quiet on the Western Front, which is currently streaming on Netflix and was directed by Edward Berger. I'm your co-host, Alec.
Oh, I'm Eric. Just kidding, it's Justin.
Dude, this movie was so good. Holy crap.
Oh, you liked it.
I mean, dude, yeah. I mean, it's a classic. This is a remake of an absolute, one of the first major Hollywood classics, you know?
Okay, so you did know this was a remake?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know this is a book, right?
Yes, so it's a book from 1929, I believe. And then they made it into a movie, the year later, in, 1930. So this book must have been so popular, dude. Because, can you imagine back then somebody makes a book of it, and then they're like, dude, we gotta make this a movie, immediately. So that's pretty cool.
The only reviews that I read that were slightly negative about it was that it wasn't, perfectly aligned with the book. That's how I found out there was a book. But other than that, 8 and 9s across the board for this movie.
Did they say specifically what was different that they didn't like?
I think some of the actors and then some of the events. I'm not too sure.
Some of the actors, of course.
No, like their personas.
I mean, that's probably my only criticism of the entire movie is that I didn't really know who I liked, with the exception of Paul and then the mustache guy, and then the guy with his the weird eye or whatever. All of his other kind of friends, I was just I don't know. Glasses guy? Okay. Nobody else had, defining personality traits, so I guess I can agree with that, if that's what they were saying, but...
Yeah, but is that a bad thing, or does that just mean the movie wants you to focus more on the two main guys?
Yeah, no, I think that's it. I think this movie is basically just about kind of how soldiers get duped into the military. That's kind of what the message I took from it was. They went after these, kids, these, high school kids, and were you need to fight for Germany, and you're they know they're going to lose, yet they're still bringing in these young boys and telling them, this is for the pride of Germany, and blah, 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 and you're what? You guys started this war, and you're losing, but you're still willing to just throw away these lives for nothing. That's what I took from it.
Well, Germany did a lot of that, where they were getting young people because they were running out of soldiers, and that's why movies like Jojo Rabbit make fun of it, where they had the child brigade. They had actual kids defending Berlin at the end.
Jesus. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So to me it really does feel like false patriotism, forcing young youth into armies because of false patriotism. Mm-hmm. I don't really think it was about Paul, or any of the characters particularly. It's kind of just it's about loss, you find out that guy with the mustache cat or whatever, he has kids or whatever, and then, this guy dies, so he'll never see his kids again. And then the guy that he kills in the trench or in that, mud pit or whatever that he, suffocates and stabs to death or whatever, the French soldier, he finds out he has a wife and daughter and everything. So it's just kind of it made me think about war a lot differently, where it's when one of those people die, if they don't have any brothers or sisters or whatever, or cousins or anything, that's the end of a lineage. Right there. That's the end of an entire line of people. Right there.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. The only real recognizable person in this, unless you've specifically seen German or Austrian film, is Daniel Bruhl.
Yeah, the dude from Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah, he's in a ton of mainstream Hollywood movies, but everyone other than that is Austrian and German actors. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say two things, which I think you're going to be surprised about, and I wish Matt was here for this because I feel like he would agree with me. Number one, I feel like this is the best war movie told from the German perspective that I've ever seen, at least. And I've seen a lot of war movies. And number two, I would put this film up there with one of the top war movies in general that I've ever seen, up there with Black Hawk Down, up there with Saving Private Ryan, for a couple reasons. One, it was so good, and like I said, nobody recognizable in it. Two, this is a Netflix movie where it's literally 50-50 hit or miss. It's either going to be good or dog shit. And on top of that, it's dubbed, which doesn't necessarily mean a dubbed movie is worse, but I mean, if you don't like that slight delay, it might bother you a bit.
There were times where I was having trouble even telling it was dubbed.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, like Netflix is freaking good, dude. This is what I do. I mean, you know, that this is what I do. I dub over foreign films and TV shows and stuff like that. I really wish I could have worked on this one, dude, but it feels like all of the actors were British. I'm pretty sure, I don't think they use any Americans to dub this film over.
Yeah, which again, we talked about this on, what movie?
Yeah, I know what you're going to say. I don't remember the movie, though.
Oh, God. It was like 2 movies ago. Oh, Dracula Untold. We talked about this where, like, every, like, foreign movie, they use British actors, and, like, kids are growing up today thinking, like, Nazis spoke with a British accent, and, like, people in Transylvania spoke with, like, you know, like, his British accent. It's so funny.
I don't really understand why would it have been so bad to get, like, German speakers who speak English as a second language.
Yeah, what these movies should do is get German voiceover actors who speak English, but with a German accent, so it's at least more authentic.
Dude, I agree. I totally agree with you. Because, watching a movie about German soldiers in World War One having British accents, you're like, what is going on right now? Yeah, I didn't like that either, but I thought the dubbing was fantastic, though. That aside, you know, that they chose British actors. But yeah, I mean, it's a really, really intense movie, obviously, and yeah, it's sad. It's just like you're watching the losing side of a war, even though they instigated this war. Like they're losing, and like Paul, he's just a kid. Like, you know, he's like, what is he, like 17, right? Doesn't he like fake his father's signature in the beginning?
Yeah, he joined as a minor.
Dude, he is like a little kid signing up to be in World War One, and dude, like. The ending is so sad. You're like, they surrendered. Like, they literally surrendered, and that fucking Dr. Robotnik looking, like, German soldier.
Damn you, go gadget.
Dude, he's such an asshole. He's just like, you're going to do this for Germany. And it's just like, wait, whoa. You already surrendered. So you're literally just sending these guys to die. And then if anybody speaks up, they get killed.
Yeah, there was a lot of that at the end of like World War One, World War II, where a lot of miscommunication, mostly due to technology, but you know, the war was over, or like generals agreed, like there was a ceasefire or something, and at the end, like some German generals, like if you notice at the end of the first one, there was so much miscommunication, and that's what happened in real life, where people didn't even know if the war was over, and there were still battles going on, and some German generals were still fighting, saying, like, no, even though, like, you know, if Hitler's alive or dead, like, we can't give up till everyone's dead. And it was just, like, mass confusion.
I think the Dr. Robotnik guy, though, I think he knew. He knew that it was over.
Oh, yeah,
he was doing this just because, like, my father was, like, a commander, and I was a commander, but there's no war, like, sort of thing. So it's like, he's doing this so his name, his legacy. But it's like, for what? So you could say, like, yeah, we surrendered, and then I won the last little bullshit battle, which could have reignited the war, you know? Like, what if the French side was like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? You just said you surrender, now you're attacking us. Like, because the final battle, the French troops are all sitting in the trenches or whatever, just, like, drinking wine. They're like, hey, we did it, or whatever. And then all of a sudden the Germans run over there and start attacking them. It's like, whoa! We just said they're no more.
Well, they had an armistice, technically. So, like, they had, like, a ceasefire truce until, like, you know, the 11th hour on the 11th day or whatever. But nobody expected anything to happen.
Yeah, that's so messed up. That's so messed up. And Paul he just saw all of his friends get killed. Everybody he's gotten close to has died. The war is over. He's going home. And then literally dies right at the end.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool because I don't know if you picked up on this, but, like, in the beginning of the movie, Paul was, like, the scared, nervous kid who his older friends who were kind of like with him on this journey, like protected him and saved his life and like taught him to be tough. And that's what he was doing at the end to that like scared redhead soldier who he saved his life like multiple times.
Yeah.
And it ended up getting him killed. And I was like, ah, damn. Like history's just repeating itself in the movie.
Well, dude, yeah, it's the same thing. It's like you see, or in the beginning, Paul's grabbing the dog tags and, yeah, sees his friend and starts crying, and it's just like, my life, like, Jesus Christ, my friend's dead. And then, yeah, literally the exact same thing happens to him. And then he takes, what is it, like the bra or whatever he was wearing? He's wearing a girl's thing, right?
I think it was a handkerchief.
Oh, okay, yeah, because it like smelled like the girl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then now it just gets passed on to that next guy, and he just keeps walking like whatever. Dude, it's so sad. But that's the thing, like, this movie actually has not the. Well, no, I think the movie does have a sequel too, but there's a sequel to the book. Do you know about this?
No.
It's called, what is it? The Road Home, I think? Yeah, The Road Back from 1930. And apparently it's just, although the book follows different characters from All Quiet on the Western Front, it can be assumed that they were in the same company, as all the characters recall the other characters from the earlier novel. Huh. Interesting. I don't know. Wonder if they'll make a sequel. Oh, yeah, so they did make a sequel to the movie in 1937, too, The Road Back. So that's the thing. I would wonder if they ever did make this. It's like, oh, is it just like the handkerchief kid or whatever now? And he's just gone. And I mean, the war's over now, so what? I don't know what would happen, but I don't know.
Yeah. Man, there's a ton of good action. I liked the character bonding that they had. There was kind of like, I wouldn't say it was like a love story, but, you know, like they're all reading letters from their wives and their family and reminiscing about, like, when we get back, we're going to have, you know, bratwurst and sauerkraut and whatever. And it was just cool to see it from this perspective because, you know, I've read a lot of books on it, and this, you know, Germany was super powerful in the beginning, and by the end of it, which is when this movie takes place, like, all those new recruits were getting dead uniforms. That's why they were ripping the tags off, and they couldn't even feed their soldiers by the end of it.
Yeah, at the beginning where they're like collecting the dead soldiers' clothes and then just washing them and stitching them up and stuff like that. You're like, oh god, oh my god. Yeah, even in the beginning, like, oh, this has someone else's name on it, and the guy's like, oh fuck, sorry. That happens all the time. Yeah, that was really messed up. The action, though, dude, the one scene that I was like, yo, this is really cool, is the tank or whatever. They're just going, and you see them run up, they blow up one of the wheels, and then they, like, shove it into the gun hole or whatever, and then they blow that up, and then all the guys come out and they start shooting them. I was like, oh my god. Like, this is so intense.
That scene was sick. All the trench fighting was awesome.
Ugh.
It was just so realistic. Like, if you read history books on it, like, that's how it was. Like, they were usually like knee deep in water, which is why you get trench foot. And it's just like, dude, that scene where the Germans were eating all the French food in that room and they felt the vibrations and all the rats came out. I was like, oh my god, dude.
Well, even the trench scene, or like all the trench scenes, dude, they say that one line at the end of the movie where they're like, 3 million people died, like, in this, like, square mile, where it's like, you know, the front line just kept moving up by, like, a couple meters, like, forever.
Let's call it, it's no man's land.
Dude, like, okay, you know how they're like, oh, like, when somebody dies, like, in a tragic way, like, their ghosts or their energy will stay in that area and it'll be haunted or whatever. That must be the most haunted place in the world, dude.
Yeah, I wonder what's there now. Like, is it still just an empty field, or?
I mean, maybe it's like a museum. I don't know, but people talk about, like, oh, when bad stuff happens, like, the energy's bad. It's like, well, that's got to be pretty fucking bad energy, dude. I don't know.
I also, one of my favorite scenes was when they were all retreating, and he got stuck where he killed that French soldier, right? And he was looking through, and he found the pictures of his wife. And when he put his helmet on a stick and lifted it up, and immediately a sniper hit it, and you knew he was fucked. Like, he can't get out of that hole.
How did he get out of that hole?
I'm assuming it got dark, you know, when it became nighttime, and he crawled out.
Dude, they gotta show that.
Yeah, they should have showed that, though. Yeah,
I didn't like that.
They just showed him walking.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa! You can't set it up like he's trapped, and then all of a sudden the next scene you're like, well, yeah, that happened off screen though. So like now he's not there anymore. Yeah, I want to see him crawling at night. Like, you know, that would have been an interesting scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, but him killing that French guy in that hole, though, like...
That was an intense scene.
Even if he survived, like, let's say he didn't die, because Paul dies in this movie. Let's say he didn't die. Dude, he's fucked for life. You're never going to forget that. You're going to be thinking about that every night. When you go to bed, you're going to be thinking about the sound of that guy, like, choking on the sand or whatever. Like, that's never going to leave your head. Ever.
Well, dude, he stabbed him a bunch, and then like, imagine being stabbed, right? Yeah. And he's on his back, drowning in his own blood, and then this dude shoves wet mud in his mouth.
He's like, shut up!
Like, you're choking on mud and blood, and then he takes the mud out, and he tries to heal him. or like stop the the bleeding. And you could tell like once it wound down and he came back to his senses because like his fight or flight was gone, he was like, oh shit, dude, like this other person, not the enemy soldier, is dying, and he tried to help him.